Contempt of court. Those are three very powerful words, aren't they? Just the threat of being held in contempt of court is enough to keep almost everyone on their best behavior. Only the most obstinately defiant, or those who feel they have nothing to lose, or the simple-minded, seem unmoved by the threat. For them, there is no fear of the power of the judge, the bailiff, or the court, because there's no respect for their fellow citizens or the rule of law. After all, isn't that what they really represent? The rule of law. And doesn't the rule of law represent us as a people? As our respect for each other dwindles, so will our respect for the rule of law, and so will our fear of being charged with contempt. Our previous Morning Minutes in the Bible introduced us to Goliath. When we think about that scene in the valley of Elah where Goliath challenged the people of God for 40 days, the one word that should come to mind is contempt. Goliath's reason for not being afraid of Israel was more than just his size and strength. The real reason he had no respect for them was because he had no respect for God. That's why he was able to stand boldly in the valley and declare, "I defy the armies of Israel today. Give me a man that we may fight together." 1 Samuel 17, verse 10. Sadly, Israel's fear of Goliath was greater than their respect for God. That's why they cowered in their camp, cringing at every challenging word. When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. And when all the men of Israel saw the man, they fled from him and were greatly afraid. 1 Samuel 17, verses 11 and 24. When David came to camp to deliver supplies for his brothers, he was as shocked by their fear as he was by Goliath's unchallenged insults, maybe more. His shock was driven by his understanding that in taunting the army of Israel, Goliath was defying the living God. 1 Samuel 17, verses 26 and 36. David's respect for God gave him the courage to take on the giant, and we know how that ended. What about us today? Our culture, yes, even the part that claims to believe in God, holds him in contempt by defiantly rejecting his commands. Does our respect for God give us the courage to stand strong against the world's contempt? Think carefully before answering. If we're afraid to talk to our family, friends, and neighbors about the truth of how to be saved, will we really be bold enough to stand up and speak up in the face of opposition from the government? We've not had to face that here in America, not much at least, but the day when it is the norm may be getting closer. So we must ask ourselves now, will we be offended by their contempt for God and stand against it like David? Something to think about today. Well, thanks for watching Morning Minutes in the Bible. Until next time, this is James McClenny hoping you have a great day.